HammerDownDyno service, in conjunction with Bettler Brothers Racing, presents...
Hello, this is Brian Bettler for HammerDownDyno service. Today showing you how to take apart and clean a 2-barrel Slingshot Briggs & Stratton V-twin carburetor. As I travel around, I hear more people, both experienced or new to the sport, that seem afraid of these carburetors. They have to take them to dealers and specialists to have them cleaned and checked out, when really you shouldn't be that scared of these. It's a pretty simple item to clean and maintain on your own, if you're flushing it out with gas every week after you're racing especially, or if you just run it every few days if you keep the alcohol in it. First of all, I've already loosened up the parts. Take off the piece for the velocity stack. You'll see the gasket sticks to that. Then the elbow goes into the manifold. Will slide out. I've removed the gasket from here, but you should have a gasket stuck to here and the base surface, which, depending on its condition, you'll need to scrape off with a razor blade. And then here's the carburetor center itself. Here you can see the butterflies and the screws. Just check and make sure they're in there, all the way threaded in. Make sure that your butterfly shaft actuates smoothly and returns without any binding. When you look into the carburetor here, you'll see the bleed holes for your air bleeds and the bowl vents, and then also inside a little bit further are the emulsion tubes where the high speed amount of fuel will spurt up into the bores during the high RPM operation. When you take the bowl off, you just remove the screws, some of the Phillips head. I find it helpful to put in small hex head bolts because the Phillips head ones are very easy to strip out, and the hex heads make it a lot easier to just use a socket at the track, or anytime you need to take this off. It can be pretty inconvenient to strip those heads out. When you take this bowl off, you'll be surprised that the what I call the spaghetti bowl gasket's an O-ring type gasket, which I have taken out of this one already. It'll be resting in the grooves deep into the areas in here to make a seal so that the air doesn't get in and mess up the metering and the carburetor. These gaskets cost about $12 or $13, so it's a good idea to try to save it. I've been told, to put it on a piece of cardboard, sandwich it in between two pieces of paper, which will help dry it and shrink it back to its original size. That's worked a couple times for me. It's also just a good idea to have a spare one handy. If you keep up on your carburetor maintenance, flushing it out with gas, like I had said, you shouldn't have to maintain this carburetor more than possibly 4 or 5 times a year, depending on where you race and how often you race. As we're looking down into the carburetor here, you can see the float and then your 2 emulsion tubes that go straight up into the bore of the carburetor. You also have the other air bleed holes in here. What you want to do is, now that you have all the pieces taken off of the carb, take some compressed air, with a blowgun. I usually blow it in each one of these holes, all 4, just gently, enough to make sure that air passes through. As you blow it through these 4 holes, you should feel air come out of the holes in here, and then if you blow some air through the emulsion tubes, you'll see it come directly up into the carburetor bores as like a mist, and that's exactly how the fuel looks when the engine is running. You can also take where the fuel comes into the carb through your hose, just blow air gently through there. If you leave the bowl, or the float on rather, you have to be careful. You don't want to blow it because it will actually lift this as the needle and seat go through. So just blow some air through there, and then through your vent line you can blow a little bit of air through there. That's basically all that it really is entailed with cleaning it. I mean, if you have a lot of sponge and alcohol residue, you can take a wire brush, clean it up as best you can, so that the new gaskets take a good seating surface. When you look at the bowl of the carburetor, this is what contains your jets. This is another area that you're going to need to clean. Behind each one of these 12mm screws or bolts, is your main jets. Sometimes they can be tough to get out. I'd recommend putting a little bit of anti-seize on them. And in behind here, you'll see two main jets. These are going to be measured, if you have a stock factory Tobias carb, I believe they measure .063. You can adjust these, for different running conditions at the track to make the engine run richer or leaner. You want to take some air, blow into each one of these, and you will see the air will actually come through and come out these caverns here where the emulsion tubes slide down in. So that's going to suck fuel directly in. Then this bowl drain here, if you take just that part out, all of the fuel will drain from the carburetor down through the bowl and out this piece here. So if you want to just drain your carburetor after a night of racing, you can put it on the bench, take just that out, blow some air through the fuel line fitting, and that should take almost all of the alcohol, gas, whatever you use to flush it out of the carb. It's a good idea if you plan to store the carburetor for a long time to put WD-40, or I've even heard people use like a 2-stroke mix, Marvel Mystery Oil. Just put a little bit of it down into the supply here. That'll run down into the bowl area and get into all the fittings and air jets and things like that. It'll keep them fresh. It'll keep them from gelling up for a long-term storage. This piece here is just a bowl vent that we plug because we get our venting through the other piece in the carb body. When you go to reassemble the carburetor, after you've put all this back together, you'll have this piece as a carburetor body and the bowl. You're going to have probably some nasty looking gasket material in here. Like I said before, take a razor blade, scrape it all off, and then you'll still have some uneven surfaces. What you need to do, what I like to do, is take a piece of sandpaper flat on a piece of wood or a table and just rub the carburetor back and forth on it. That'll clean the surface off and you get a nice shiny clean surface that gasket can mate to. You don't have to worry about taking too much off. If you just take it down until it's shiny again, you're not going to take enough material off in a million years to affect the operation of the carb. Both sides you'll want to do it, and possibly in this elbow as well. There could be a bunch of buildup in here. But basically, that's how you disassemble and clean a 2-barrel Slingshot carburetor. Any questions, I can be emailed at HammerDownDyno@yahoo.com. Thanks for watching.